It's 1 o'clock, so I'm going to bring us to order, but we're going to go ahead and recess for 4 minutes while we wait for Senator Innes to arrive. We're going to get started. Gavel back in. Could we please pick up with House Bill 309, relative to making electronic rent payments optional? Discussion from fellow committee members.
Are we in executive session?
Well, it's a subcommittee. So,
Okay. Discussion at this
Discussion.
point on 309?
yes.
Making them all.
Mayor, I think there is a portion of our population that is not bankable. They can't afford to have a checking account because once you don't pay your overdraft fees on a checking account, you can't get one again. So I think in order to serve everyone who would like to live someplace and pay rent, it makes sense.
Okay. I understand that point. Huh. Do we have any estimate of how many people fall into that category?
I can say that when I was at Employment Security, and both for state payroll purposes and for unemployment compensation purposes, we had to always have a plan B because that there was especially if you've lost your job, there's a significant portion of people in that category that need another plan. And it was usually a Western Union check from Shaw's that was the other plan.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chair.
Well, here's my 2 cents. I am loath to trample on the ancient right of contract, and this steps on the right to contract.
Yeah.
Having said that, from my understanding, given the testimony at the hearing, the landlords, no one spoke up to oppose it.
That's
and
right.
I was told that the landlords generally support it. There may be an amendment coming forward to take out any fine. There's no fine listed in the bill, so
No,
I'm comfortable.
there's not.
I'm comfortable acting on the bill as it is, but my understanding is that they're failing to comply.
Mm-hmm.
Carries $1,000 fine. So there may be an amendment that I can bring forward to the full committee
Okay.
Senator Ennis, to
Yeah, that'd be great.
address the fine aspect. Given that no one opposed it and the landlords seem to support it, I would be comfortable moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm comfortable moving forward. I hear your points. And it's hard for me to imagine people don't have a bank, but I guess some people don't.
Well,
Oh, yeah, I get it.
even those that are bankable, the issue is, you've got the 80-year-old who isn't comfortable using Venmo
True.
or electronic debits. And they want to write a check.
Yeah.
They want to write a check the way that they have since 1974.
Mm-hmm.
And landlords, in some cases, apparently aren't always giving them that option.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's the need for the bill.
Okay. Well, I was a co-sponsor, so, you know.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move on to pass.
Okay, and I'll second. All in favor recommending on a pass?
Aye.
All right. So
Good.
we recommend the full committee passes on 309.
And there'll be an amendment?
There may be an amendment to deal with any fine.
All right. We'll wait for it. And that's an FN, so we're gonna have to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's pick it up with House Bill 694.
Oh,
Discussion from the subcommittee.
somewhere down here. Yeah, we need to pull them up, and with the windows open and the construction, it's a lot, right? How are you? Yeah, I do too. It's nice.
All right.
All right.
So Senate Bill or House Bill 694.
Yes.
Requiring property leased by state agencies be leased at a rate which would be considered fair market rate.
Mhm.
I thought there was widespread agreement at the committee
Yeah.
hearing. I did not hear any substantial objection.
It's logical.
It's logical.
Yeah.
Senator Reardon.
Once again, my experience is
Could you pull the mic closer so they can hear you? There we go.
Got it. That the state didn't necessarily have to pay fair market rent in a lot of instances where a landlord wants a long-term tenant, they will accept a lower payment than that. I'm not sure why we would put the negotiation of a lease in a statute, where I think administrative services is fully capable of negotiating what the amount should be.
Right. There's certain logic to
You're
that.
not wrong.
No.
Um,
I guess that is the question. Are we going to, kind of remove that opportunity if this passes? I would say yes.
You've got a strip mall in some town and the liquor store wants to be your tenant and they're gonna be there for a long, long time. You'll take the sure thing.
No, you want that long-term lease.
sure,
And it could be slightly below market rate to get the term. Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up the hearing report just to make sure that
There were no objections. I don't recall.
I do not have a hearing report on this one.
Let's see. I brought the book. 694.
694.
Last one in the book. So,
So it made sense. The testimony we got were for really unique properties like courts, probate courts and things like that.
yep.
May well make sense and I don't know how you figure out what the fair market rent for a courthouse would be. But I think just a little too broad a brush.
Okay.
Let's see. The New Hampshire Association of Counties supported it.
Yep.
Representative Shaheen supported it. No one opposed it.
Right.
Senator Reardon, you had some hard questions. This bill does not, it does have an FN, so we will have to
Yeah.
act fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would be totally in favor of applying it to unique properties like county courthouses and probate courts and things like that. I just don't think it makes sense for the liquor store.
I'm reading the comments from Mr. Furlan, the county manager for Sullivan County. His argument basically is that consolidated leases have risen significantly in cost, and there hasn't been time to recalibrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're on the main street in downtown Newport. That's probably, fair market value was probably
Pretty
high.
low. You think
Well,
it's high?
For a main street in
It's
that
new-
area as opposed to, the ones that are out in the.
Yeah,
in-
true.
In Dover, in
Yeah.
the hinterlands.
Yeah.
Same thing with,
Well, there's no state liquor store in Newport.
there isn't.
No?
Oh.
Close. Claremont. Or Warner.
Claremont.
Or Hillsborough. I know where they are around me. Mr. Chair, what are your thoughts?
Already one negotiation. I'm just reading over the hearing report. It wasn't very long.
No. Was not.
Well, we can not make a recommendation and leave it up to the full committee.
Or if the counties would like to come back with some language that applies to what they're talking about, I think that's totally fair,
Yeah.
if that can happen quickly.
Are you suggesting that maybe we,
Ask the Association of Counties to come up with something that's specifically.
you want to
specifically
narrow
addresses
the scope of the
Yeah.
bill? Okay.
kids.
I trust the municipal association doesn't have a position on this one. Okay.
It sounds like very few people had a position on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare, but no.
Okay. All right.
Let us know if we do something with it.
You'll keep an eye on us, I have a feeling. All right.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Senator?
Why don't we just bring it back to the full committee and we'll have a discussion on it in executive session on Tuesday.
I mean, it's fair, I think it's fair to ask the Association of Counties to come forward with any suggested edits, suggested amendments.
Okay.
And if we could have that for next week, it's a short notice,
Mm-hmm.
but
We can.
if we can, then maybe we can answer Senator Reardon's objection. I think she makes a good point.
Okay. All right. I'll let Aaron know that we'll be talking about this one in executive session on Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Do you need me to do anything else on it? Okay. Got it.
All right. Senate Bill 631. And permitting residential building and commercial zoning.
I have a clarifying question on
yeah, this is
this. I have an amendment from April 8th from Senator Ennis in my,
Amendment from April 8th. Find that in the binder. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
part of the package. Yep, okay.
Yeah, it basically provides an opportunity for essentially the denial of such a thing in the event there is insufficient infrastructure to accommodate it, which is a logical amendment. I think it made it a lot more palatable to a lot of folks. So I'm going to make a motion about to pass on this and the amendment.
I'll second, but if I could I see the amendment, Senator?
Yeah.
Rivers? I'm sorry to get a copy. Thank you.
I'm going to assume that the, can be prohibited in areas where there's not only inadequate water, but air, noise, odor.
Air,
and
noise,
transportation
odor,
comes-
transportation impacts, and height.
Comes from an existing business that's
Right.
there that.
Right. So if you were converting, let's say, the mall in Newington to housing, you now have a lot more toilets and showers and other things than you do in the mall presently. So I think that could be a constraining factor.
Senator Ennis, the the language on the existing lines 16 and 19 don't answer your objection?
Let me look. 16, which
You're-
line?
You're adding a few words at the end there.
Yeah. Let me see. On this or the,
What?
the
The
original?
last 12 words or so are new language, not in the.
Or height that would cause the municipality burden some additional infrastructure costs?
Yes, the
Yeah.
burdensome infrastructure cost language is different.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts?
I am committed to mixed use
I am too.
building. And to be frank with you, I'm concerned about sending it back for concurrence.
Uh-huh. So you want to leave the amendment off?
I don't know if the last 6 words that you're adding with the amendment makes a substantive.
I understand what you're saying. The Municipal Association testified on this. And I can't recall, was this amendment after consultation with you? Yeah, okay, then it wasn't.
I would love to see.
Yeah,
I have the Clip Notes version, so I don't read that part right now.
it does, well, let's see. Senator Reardon, what do you think on the amendment?
I think it is so similar, your end part
Mm-hmm,
seems to be in the beginning of this sentence here, when it excludes where industrial and manufacturing uses
right.
are there. So I totally get that. We never envisioned it in an industrial zone. Those
Right.
have to be preserved for industrial. And the only other addition I see here is height.
Mm-hmm,
Is the only factor that wasn't included before.
yeah,
And the words where the municipality, it's burdensome,
I don't see how
additional
height could be
costs.
burdensome, to be honest.
And I think in the original bill, it, municipalities still have the right from restricting it in zones where there may result in impacts that are incompatible with the use, including transportation. So actually, did you added water to water
Yeah.
and height?
Yeah. I mean, water is an issue, height, much less so, in my view.
Yep.
So,
Actually, water is in line 14 of the bill already.
line 14, including roads, water, and sewage systems.
Provided that adequate infrastructure, including roads, water, sewage, shall be available to support the development.
So I'm hearing both of you making a case against the amendment. I
think
don't
it's
think it's necessary.
redundant.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I can be persuaded.
so if you're willing to withdraw your amendment.
Yeah, I can
we've got an
withdraw
ought
it.
to pass in a second. All in
No.
favor that we recommend ought to pass without amendment on 631?
All right,
Aye. Okay,
all right, I'll keep it just in case. But should be fine. All right,
House Bill 410.
410, let's just go here.
So if I can begin, I really like a lot of what this bill tries to do. It is an elegant, solution to what I truly believe is one of the most serious problems facing our state. It's bold, it's inventive, and I really like that it empowers individuals. Having said that, we've got a lot of moving pieces this year already, and I'm a little concerned about conflicts. I think I brought that up at the hearing.
You did.
And it may be a little premature given everything else that's going on this year.
I agree. And I think the Municipal Association would agree as well.
Well,
Yes.
Senator Reardon, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think we like it a lot because it's a nice summary of everything else that we've heard going along. And the only other thought that I have on it is the word extraordinary has some legal meaning that comes with that,
Okay.
that I'm not sure we need to interject into housing regulation.
All right.
Yeah. I would entertain a motion of re-refer.
That's what I was going to suggest, so I will second that.
All in favor of recommending re-refer? House Bill
Aye.
410. Aye. All right. Let's take up 296.
I thought I had a 296,
Um,
something or another.
I left you some, I emailed you something and I left you something on your desk there too.
House Bill 296, relative to issuing permits along private roads.
Oh, yeah, the client, yeah. Okay,
Senator Reardon, is this amendment, has it been through LLS?
It has not.
okay.
This came yesterday from the Housing Action New Hampshire folks,
Okay.
who talked to a couple of planners who, although they liked it, thought this was clarifying to put in, this isn't a numbered copy, but in the second, the new paragraph amending 67441, that the, shall be issued a building permit subject to the provisions of RSA 67613, Roman 1. And
Okay.
they call it a, so to not overrule other code requirements, et cetera, required prior to a building permit is what their intent was to.
See,
So I'm curious about the interplay between House Bill 296 and the Senate bill that we passed earlier this year, currently in the House, regarding building on Class 6 roads. I was going to suggest perhaps deleting paragraph 2 on this to avoid any sort of conflict.
Okay.
But Senator Reardon, given your experience and this amendment, I'd really like to hear what you think, if you think there's a conflict or not.
I didn't think about this or have this suggestion until I got this email last night and thought,
okay.
if it's clarifying for them, that's one thing. To tell you the truth, I haven't compared it to our version that we passed.
I'm just going to take a second to pull up the RSA that's relevant. to make
Yeah.
sure that-
67613.
Brody has something to say if we.
Mr. Deshay, if you have something to say, please.
Great.
676.
We need insight today.
So if you were to remove the last paragraph to this or update it with the proposed language Senator Reardon has provided, we would change our position from opposition to support, because we supported the original bill because it's a local option.
Okay.
But with the bill that you guys passed, it goes into effect after this bill. So after this bill would go into effect 60 days, as of July 1st, 2026, Senator Murphy's Class 6 bill would basically repeal this entire law, and his bill that's currently in the House would be the bill that would establish, the new RSA 674:41, at least the Roman 1 subsection C part.
Yeah.
So there are a little bit of conflicts and interplay there. It might require a phone call to the chairman of the House Housing Committee to figure out how these two bills can be compatible. But I will say, from what I've heard from what Senator Reardon, how she described her amendment, we would support that. House Bill 296, we were supportive originally, and our issue was the mandate of having to issue a building permit. So now by having it abide by the existing statute RSA 674:41, you're essentially establishing a local option, and we support that. So I hope that clarifies some. Take any questions if you have any, but I don't think so.
In your opinion, Mr. Shea, the bill stands alone with the deletion of paragraph 2.
Which bill are we talking?
This is talking about House Bill 296.
Okay, we're talking about 296. And your question is about the second paragraph, the new paragraph?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Our opposition is solely to the clause shall be issued a building permit.
Okay.
And Senator Reardon, the amendment that she kind of describes, it says shall be issued a building permit, and then in accordance with,
Subject to the provisions of the other RSA.
yes. So
676.13 says the inspector shall not issue a building permit unless, and there's a number of conditions here.
Okay.
you said 676.13?
Well, that's the one referenced.
7613 Roman I.
That's the one
Referenced
referenced in the amendment. And I know you don't, maybe, we have a copy
Oh,
now.
okay, so there's an amendment, okay.
Yeah.
It's a different statute reference.
It hasn't been through LS yet.
I mean,
The conditions in Roman 1, things
No.
we can live with.
No, it's 1 through 2 and 5. Roman 1 is the building inspector should not issue any building or occupancy permit for any proposed construction, remodeling, or maintenance which will not comply with any or all zoning ordinances, building code, or planning board regulations which are in effect.
okay.
So I think the amendment basically neuters
Yeah,
the bill.
yeah.
You're going to issue a building permit unless
Unless
we don't want to issue a building permit.
So that's basically it.
we can come up with A through J.
Those sneaky
that you can.
planners. Anyway,
Well,
Okay.
I think the planners, they just, the way I would read it, sorry, I thought your amendment cited 674:41, so the existing statute, that if it met those requirements of the existing statute for going to get a building permit on a class 6 road. I think under the 676:13, the building inspector shall not issue any building or occupancy for any proposed construction, remodeling, or maintenance which will not comply with any or all zoning ordinances, building codes, or planning board regulations which are in effect. That could conflict with the 674:41, where currently the selectmen have the power, the governing body does. Maybe a solution might be subject to the provisions of this section.
That gets us back to where you are though, right?
So then we're operating, the statute's only operating within itself 674:41, and that would empower boards of selectmen, after receiving comment from the planning board, to approve subdivisions on class 6 roads, which I think is the intent of the bill, to approve subdivisions that meet the lot size requirements or dimensional requirements set by the local municipality.
so my thought is, I'm back to recommending we delete paragraph 2, because to me, it conflicts with the bill that we passed dealing with class 6 roads earlier in the year.
So lines 7 through 12 go away.
Line 7 through 12 would go away.
We would support that. We would. We'd change our
I like
position
it.
back to support, so.
So when you want to do a
Well, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Thank you, Senator.
that kind of day.
There's
You,
always room for humor.
do you want to do this as a committee amendment? And Senator Reardon, what are your thoughts? Okay. Committee
I'm
amendment?
surprised that I'm good with that.
Yep. All right, so the motion is that we recommend to pass as amended on House Bill 296 with the further amendment of deletion of lines 7 through 12.
Yes.
All in favor of that? Yes?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
All right.
All right. Now that takes us to the two controversial bills for the day. House Bill 685.
685.
I just didn't want to lose my audience. Permitting residentially zoned areas by right the construction of manufactured housing.
Representative Dane. It's a co-sponsor.
Does anybody have any amendments they wish to bring forward or issues to discuss?
I have issues I'd like to discuss, and I think the issue I'd like to discuss is the continuing stigma of manufactured housing.
Yeah.
I think Abby Bronson from the Community Loan Fund did us a huge favor by bringing in actual pictures of the homes and the floor plans and all of that. And I think whether it's a sticks-built house or a manufactured home, you get what the builder does and what the landscaping is and all of that. With that said, if this is still not acceptable to people, there are towns that require a manufactured housing that comes in to be of a certain date. So you are assured you don't, heaven forbid, get a pre-76 home, which most is before the HUD code. But if you want to insist on the home style, I don't think the quality is necessarily better. That's been consistent through, but a home style that's consistent with what we see here, that could be a consideration that towns may require the home be less than, 10 years old.
So let's say somebody wants to put a manufactured home in the historic district in Newcastle.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to do that because of the historic district rules. Is that right? No? Do you want to come up?
It's single family.
you don't mind me
anyways, right?
asking.
Is what
All
this says,
right.
yeah.
So help me understand this. Let's say house burns down in Newcastle, God forbid, and the owners say, we can't afford to rebuild. This manufactured housing is going to look good. It'll fit in the lot, meet all the requirements. Would there be anything, given that there's an historic district? I mean, it would seem to me that provides cover for the town to say no. And having dealt with an historic district in Newcastle and Portsmouth, I can tell you.
So current statute, you're required in your zoning ordinances to allow some opportunity for manufactured housing in your municipality. And so you either permit in some zones there to be manufactured housing parks, or you can permit in some zones there be manufactured housing as right, like any other single family residential unit. Many municipalities address this by having an overlay district and allowing, manufactured housing in several, zoning districts. I live in a village district. They're not permitted in my district where I live. However, my in-laws, my parents, and their two different zoning districts they live in, they're part of that overlay district. And there have been manufactured homes built that are quite tasteful looking and
Yeah.
fit with the, on a 1 or 2 acre lot in Wolfboro that looks nice. It's not out of, these homes are a lot different now, as Senator Reardon mentioned.
are.
This would, by right, in every resident, it says, in all land areas and lots in district zones to permit residential uses within every municipality in the state. So, lines 14 and 15, that would be even in a historic district, even in my village district where I live, that's a historic district in Wolfboro Falls, you would be permitting, you would be mandating that municipalities permit manufactured housing. Our stance is that the current statute has only been in law since I believe July 1st of 2024. Or maybe it might be even a year older than that, but we're seeing municipalities adopt zoning ordinances in accordance with that state mandate that is allowing more development of manufactured homes. This might be, this might be trying to, this might be a solution in search of a problem because we're seeing an increase in manufactured home development across the state, and those homes are more affordable, and they're part of the mix of trying to solve some of the housing problems that we see across the state and in municipalities. So, our recommendation might be to retain this bill and do further study and analysis of how the current statute's working, what municipalities have in their zoning ordinances, and how many building permits are currently being pulled to build manufactured housing. And I also want to flag too, it seems the definition of manufactured housing in this bill has changed pretty substantially compared to the current statute. And also, we find it kind of strange that, and I mentioned this to Senator Murphy in a meeting, in the new Section 2, that's the RSA 674, in the insertion of 31-A, you would have a mandate of permitting all manufactured homes in every residential district, and then the existing statute that requires, reasonable opportunities, you'd have two state mandates that would be conflicting. In one section of RSA 674 would say, oh, you need to allow either by right in some of your districts or manufactured homes in some of your districts. And then literally a few, sections up, it would say, oh, never mind, actually, you need to allow it by right in every residential district. So you have to at least repeal the current mandate you have on the books so then it doesn't conflict with the new mandate.
All right.
I am not opposed to, I get village districts and historic districts.
Yeah.
That's just what would be in keeping with the district and intention of the district, that those would probably have to be accepted. If if in fact that's also a single family or residential, you know, the zoning fits within the bills.
I'm just reading through definitions.
Reading through definitions, okay. I mean, conceptually, I like it.
Well, I think you're a co-sponsor, so
Yep.
I also like the bill. And I think that manufactured housing is I mean, I've got people in my family that own these.
Mhm.
They're great quality. They are very affordable compared to stick built.
My
think
second
it's-
house was one of these. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not second home, the second house I ever owned.
Big
I don't
difference,
have a second
big
home.
Is there more than village districts, historic districts? Are there more like kind of districts that we should be thinking about?
I would, so not every village district is a historic district.
Yep.
Right.
So that's an
they'd be
important, but,
separate, yeah.
but village districts still, the way that they're zoned is to, you know, it's more of like, typically it's like, that village district has been, you know, developed or mostly developed before the municipality may have had zoning ordinances. So it's going to be a little bit more clustered. It's more likely you might have like, you know, infrastructure like water and sewer in the district. I think historic districts, that's another example.
And possibly pre-zoning sized lots.
That too, yeah, which could create some issue. I mean, you know, I would recommend, I would say two things. The first thing is that there kind of already is a solution in RSA 674:32, where the local planning board will present zoning ordinances and establish these overlay districts. And when they establish these overlay districts for manufactured housing, they're going to make sure that the overlay district doesn't include historic or village districts or really densely populated downtown areas. They're going to typically put the overlay districts in either their residential areas, rural residential, or sometimes even residential agricultural districts to allow the opportunity there, or in a few of their residential districts where they might have, you know, suitable infrastructure. It's reasonable that they could expand their water or sewer, allow for manufactured home parks where they could, you know, run a water system and a sewer system there. So, I mean, I would say if you're going to look at tweaking and increasing the amount of manufactured homes that are mandated, I don't think this is a solution. I think going to 674:32 and making tweaks there, but I think it kind of addresses like 674:32, which, and I was right, it did go into effect July 19th of 2024. It kind of addresses the issue that this bill is seeking to kind of find, and that Senator Innes has some, you know, some qualms with these historic districts or historic areas. So it's kind of like the legislature has already
want
addressed
to
this
have their
problem and had this
character.
debate.
Right. I mean, you want those districts to retain their character, and I get it. You know, when we were lived in it, had businesses in it, it's a little onerous, but, you know, I just, frankly, I don't see it happening.
I don't either. I think
No.
that the real estate in these historic districts tends to be very valuable. I don't think
Yep.
anyone's going to be buying a lot in a historic district for a lot of money and
And
plopping
put up-
down something off the back of a truck. So,
Right.
you know, I think it's a concern that doesn't really have a basis in
Okay. All
the
right.
real world.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion about to pass then.
I'll second. All those in favor recommend ought to pass the full committee.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
And I believe the last bill of the day is House Bill 577.
Ooh, yes. Gee, we both co-sponsored this.
We did. Senator Reardon, before we take up this bill, you brought an amendment for House Bill 342, but I don't see that on my list of bills to deal with today.
I just noticed that. Yep,
Yeah, I
Yep.
have it here.
I'll save that note for another day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so House Bill 577.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Obviously, a lot of topic, big hot topic.
It is a hot topic. Um, I'm supportive, obviously.
I am also supportive. I think that it's critical that we allow people the opportunity to make allowance on their property for their parents as they age, for the younger children as they begin to have their own families, perhaps to opportunity to earn income through rental and help pay the property taxes that are too high. I think this is an innovative solution. I also don't think, given the cost of these units, people are going to be throwing them up left and right.
Right.
A lot of the arguments I hear against them is, well, I'm going to be driving through a neighborhood of subdivision of duplexes in
Yeah.
5 years, and that's just not realistic.
No.
The ones that I've seen are very tasteful. They blend in with the community very well, and I don't see why anyone would object to them.
I will agree, and I think the testimony that we had in Ringe, they've had the ability to do this for 20 years, and they've had maybe 3 dozen in 20 years. I checked with one of the towns that I represent, and they've had 3 on their,
Okay, so 3.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the law in Bedford for a number of years. I know of one.
One.
I mean, I'm not saying that's all there is. I'm saying I know of one.
But in my district, I see incredible opportunities of carriage houses that aren't used, or
Right.
big houses that there's no longer the need for any more space than they've already got that would be great opportunities.
And even for that matter, a lot of the more rural communities, they've got outbuildings that in some cases are in danger of collapse and they're not being maintained. This might give people more of a reason and incentive to take care of them.
True.
So,
Also not cheap.
also not cheap. All in favor recommending ought to pass on House Bill 577?
Aye.
Aye. All right, anything else to discuss? I believe we've been through the agenda, at least the one that I had.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right,
Do you want a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second, and all in favor, aye.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very efficient. It's a subdued group.